Welcome to the Explainer. We've all asked ourselves this at some point. What really makes something good or bad? Is it that simple? Today, we're going to get into it. We're diving deep into moral philosophy, or what's also known as akhlaq, to really understand the foundations of good and evil.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with the biggest question of all, right? What are good and evil? I mean, we throw these words around all the time, but what do they actually mean? Is good simply what helps people out, and evil is just what hurts them? Or is there something deeper going on? This is the question that philosophers and theologians have wrestled with for, well, basically forever. So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at where morality and philosophy kind of meet. Then, we'll get into the difference between morality and ethics, a super important distinction. After that, we'll tackle the fundamental questions of ethics, get into the huge debate on free will, and finally bring it all back from theory to practice.
So, first up, morality, where religion and philosophy intersect. You really can't even begin to talk about morality without looking at these two massive pillars, right? Religion and philosophy. For both of them, this whole topic is, well, it's absolutely central to what it means to be human.
And for a lot of belief systems, especially divine religions, morality isn't just some chapter in a book. It's the whole point. The entire goal is to give people a framework for how to live, a way to elevate their character, their virtue. The idea is that the source of all this, it's divine.
And this idea, it's captured perfectly in this powerful saying from Prophet Muhammad: religion is good morality. Think about that. It's not just a nice phrase. It's practically an equation. It's saying your faith is literally measured by how you act. Your character becomes the ultimate proof of what you believe. They're not just connected, they're one and the same. Okay, so now let's talk about the distinction between morality and ethics. This is where philosophy really steps in and says, hold on, let's get precise here. It takes this big, broad idea of morality and splits it into two really important parts: what we do versus what we think about what we do. First up, you've got practical morality, or akhlaq. Just think of this as real-world morality. It's all about our actions, our actual behavior, the choices you and I make every single day. And then, on the flip side, you have theoretical morality. This is what we call ethics, or ethic. And this isn't about the doing at all. It's all about the thinking. It's the whole philosophical field of stepping back, analyzing our behavior, and asking the big why questions. So, here's the bottom line, the big takeaway. Akhlaq is living a moral life. Ethic is thinking about what a moral life is. You can think of it like this: one is playing the game, the other is studying the rule book. It's a really simple distinction, but man, is it a powerful one. All right, so let's dive into the core of ethics now, into ethique. Let's see how this whole thinking side of things leads to these massive fundamental questions that philosophers have been obsessed with for centuries. These are the real heavy hitters of moral philosophy. And the first one is just monumental. It's the question of the ultimate goal. If we're all trying to live a good life, what are we actually aiming for? What's the North Star? The highest good? What is the absolute pinnacle, the whole point of our moral journey? And wow, the answers to this one question have literally shaped entire civilizations. Is the highest good something out there, like devotion to God? Or is it something inside us, like finding harmony with nature? Maybe it's just about feeling good, avoiding pain and seeking pleasure. Or is it totally different? Is it about being good, about fulfilling your duty, no matter what it costs you personally? Okay, so if that first question is about the destination, the second one is all about the journey. It zooms in from that big ultimate goal right down to our individual actions. It's asking, okay, what's the standard? What's the rule that makes any single action you take a right action? But wait a second. This whole conversation about choosing the right action, it all hangs on one massive, and I mean massive, assumption: that we are actually free to choose at all. And this brings us to maybe the deepest, most challenging debate in all of philosophy, the debate on free will. Are we really in the driver's seat? And this chart just lays out the battlefield perfectly. On one extreme, you have the determinists. They say, nope, no freedom. Everything is predetermined. On the complete opposite end are the rationalists, who argue we have total, complete freedom of choice. And then there in the middle, you get these more nuanced views, sociological or religious ones, that say, well, yeah, we have freedom, but it's partial.
We can make choices, sure, but only within certain boundaries set by our society or in a religious view by God's will. But here's what's so fascinating. Despite all that disagreement, here's the one thing almost every single moral system agrees on. For morality to even make sense, for words like responsibility to have any meaning at all, we have to have at least some freedom. Without choice, there's no morality. It's the bedrock, the absolute precondition. So, okay, we've been way up in the clouds of theory. Now, how do we bring all this abstract stuff, highest good, right action, free will, how do we bring it back down to earth? How does it apply to our actual lives? Well, this is where we circle back to practical morality, back to akhlaq. And the way it applies is actually pretty cool. Think of it like ripples in a pond. It starts with the very center, you, the individual, your own personal conduct, your virtues. Then the circle expands to your family and your moral duties there. Then it gets wider, to society and the ethical rules we all live by. And finally, the biggest circle of all, the state and the principles of just government, which is really just politics. And this brings us full circle, right back to those two great pillars we started with, philosophy and religion. See, they're both trying to get to the same destination, a moral life, but they're using totally different maps. Philosophy uses the tools of analysis, of critique, of constant questioning. Religion, on the other hand, starts with divine revelation as its source. So philosophical ethics often focuses on our relationships with each other, while religious ethics tends to be way more comprehensive, covering our duties to a creator, to all other beings, the whole shebang. So after all that, we're left with a final question. And this one is for you. After digging into all these theories and all these distinctions, it's worth taking a second to ask yourself, what is the source of your moral values? Where does your own moral compass come from? Is it based on reason, on faith, on the society you grew up in, or maybe a mix of everything? It's a question that really gets to the very heart of what it means to be human.